precisely only 1/3 time is there. So it should be a healing time.
Workplaces have actually a great role to play in creating a healthy, happy society.
You know why only 1% CEOs are successful? Because, it is not about how they handle others. It's about how they handle themselves.
Right. I think if we can get more people to understand things like this and implement things like this, we could be creating a better world.
And universe has its own ways to, settle the scores with you, make you noticeable. Very, very funny problems sometimes, and they are struggling with those which is not so big. Tell me something about yourself, and how do you pronounce your name right?
It's Aman.
Aman, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, Aman, how do you introduce yourself? How do I know Aman?
Well, from a work perspective.
From every perspective. Who is Aman?
Well, Aman, I guess like any other human being, is a bunch of different things. In my work life, I work in the space of leadership development and talent development, and I specialize in a few areas. One, of course, is leadership development, executive presence, but also diversity, inclusion, well-being, business storytelling. These are some of the areas that I'm passionate about helping people develop. My approach to work is informed by a couple of sciences. One of them is positive psychology or strength psychology. Another field that strongly influences the work I do is experiential education. And so I use a lot of experiential education and strength psychology in my facilitation, in my coaching work. So that's, I guess that's a little bit about what I do. It's also aligned to who I am as a person. I am, deeply passionate about, about good leadership, about inclusion, about, justice and fairness in society. And so I think I ended up gravitating towards the kind of, work which is an expression of who I am.
Wonderful. So if I may ask you one thing as to when did it all start? Why did you think about just this?
I think it started fairly young. I suspect that justice is fairly natural, for all human beings to have a sense of. So I think even when we are kids, if we witness that we are being treated unfairly or somebody else is being treated unfairly, I think it bothers us. For example, if somebody asks us to keep quiet, and not contribute to a conversation when we are kids, it is always surprising. See, why am I being asked to? And this is not fair, right? Or when we witness it happen to another kid, if one kid is given 4 chocolates and another one is given none, we immediately know that there's something wrong there. So I think justice is it's hard coded into who we are as human beings. I think unfortunately what happens is some of us have it beaten out of us. Some of us are, culturally we are told very damaging things such as this is the real world. And, you got to live in this real world. We are actually told that the real world...
We're told that over and over again.
Yeah, we are told that over and over again, that the real world is an unjust, unfair place and we must adapt to this kind of stuff. And, a quote of Jiddu Krishnamurthy's comes to mind, which is one of my favorites. And he says that, I don't know the exact wording, but roughly he says that it is not a measure of good health to be adapted to a deeply sick society. So, adjusting to injustice is a sign of ill health. And, what Munna Bhai MBBS Part 2, when you have people going around saying, get well soon, I think that was the whole genesis of the idea. Saying, boss, ab bimar ho gaye.
Yeah, true. So your background is from what, psychology or?
No, actually, I actually studied biology for my graduation. I studied marketing for my post-graduation. I worked for a few years in sales and marketing, and then I went into the BPO operations world. I spent 9 years there, and towards the beginning of my BPO operations stint, the role was 100% about people. Your responsibility was to enable your people to do better, and so the job actually was about helping, coaching, my team and helping them perform, get better, helping them build their careers. As I got promoted, the job became less and less about people, and it became more and more about inanimate stuff, like numbers on a piece of paper, like quarterly business reports, which were more about numbers and balance sheets and money, and less about human beings and development, etc. And I began to, enjoy that role less and less. So when I figured that for me, the inanimate world of numbers, metrics, and deadlines meant less, and the world of human beings and growth and development meant more, I actually switched careers about almost 14 years ago. I came into this field. So this is essentially my third career, from having done sales to operations and now into leadership and talent development.
Wow. So from data, numbers to people now.
Well, from people to data and then back to people.
Yeah, right. So great. So how are you enjoying this journey? What is that you think, you have contributed in a way which has nourished your own being in a different way?
Yeah, I think that last bit that you say, Shachi, is really important. Nourish my own being. I think there are two ways of looking at personal development or professional development. The largely prevalent, widely accepted way of looking at development is, okay, this is who you are and this is who you should become. So who you need to become is valued more than who you already are. And the world your world, it could be your parents and teachers to start with, and then your managers and your seniors and your colleagues, and everybody else is telling you who you need to stop being and who you need to start becoming. And a lot of people buy into that, and possibly for them there is value in that. But I find that rather damaging, because I think what happens is people tend to forget who they are. They get disconnected with who they are, with their natural values such as justice and fairness, with the things that deeply matter to them. And I think the other model of development is actually becoming who you are, fully becoming who you are, embracing your values, living your values. And I think that nourishes, who you are. It actually makes you a more at ease, more peaceful person, a happier person, while at the same time giving you, a thriving career. So you don't sacrifice your nourishment of self in order to gain material, goods and achievements.
Absolutely. And the two things which everyone who comes into this profession is that he falls into love with his own transformation, falls into love with, how people interact with the person in different ways. And that learning process is for self more than others, is what I believe. And I can understand that journey because I've been a numbers person, and from numbers person, I've been now into completely people's person. Being chartered accountant, I have just worked relentlessly 28 years on numbers and numbers and numbers. But then I realized I was working more on people than numbers, because ultimately over a period of time when you elevate, you are only working to get things done more than what to get, done. So
Absolutely, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I think this is a realization that I think more people in senior management roles need to have, that individual contributor roles and senior manager roles are very different. Senior management roles are, or what we generally call leadership roles, are actually people roles. They are not, they're not, like you said, skill based or numbers based actually.
So, if I may ask you that, what was your high point on any coaching, as to what is that one thing which you thought that oh, this is the difference I could make to this person? If you could share some of your stories on leadership coaching, a couple of them probably, just to give us an idea as to what kind of coaching you do and how do you transform the leaders.
Well, I think any time where there's been an aha moment for a coachee, for a client, is very interesting. And there are different kind of ahas that people get. So in a recent one, I was working with the vice president in the financial sector, and they were actually trying to chalk out their future career with me. And their future career was, the aspirations for a future career were actually driven by all the things that matter to professionals: next step and greater role and bigger role. And the gap between what they wanted and where they were was what was causing them discomfort, which is why they wanted to close that gap. And the interesting thing in that coaching, one of the coaching conversations was when the person was able to see who they were and how that was contributing to their ambition and their dissatisfaction. And, the realization that the dissatisfaction, the ambition is actually coming from a particular place inside them. I think that was the aha. And I'm very happy when people are able to figure it out, saying, okay, this is what I tend to do in life. This is what I'm unhappy with, but it's actually coming from a different place.
Yeah. So sometimes it is, the way you look at it changes the way it is.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with you.
That was one. And I think another one, I was working with a startup founder, and, they wanted to work with a coach because they had noticed that the energy that they used to be able to give to their startup had begun to come down, their enthusiasm, their energy. And I was using a strengths-based approach in there. And one of the things that they realized, through that coaching session was, I'm working in all the areas that are not naturally strong for me. I'm working in all of my weakness areas, and that
drains me up.
Absolutely, that completely drains me. And doing it for a short period of time is fine. You do it for a day or two or a week or two is fine. You get to recover from it. But when you do it consistently over months, it actually leads to people feeling burnt out.
Absolutely, I agree. Because we also do the SWOT, and then we realize that you have people say that I'm working for 18 hours a day. Neither I am happy, nor my boss is happy, nor my team is happy. There is definitely something wrong that I am doing. Can you please help me identify that?
Absolutely.
And then we say, okay, let's do your SWOT and then understand what is the kind of strengths that you have, what are the kinds of weaknesses that you're facing, what are the kinds of opportunities and threats that you are, literally confronting.
Absolutely. And, this is exactly what the core of my work is, because like I said, the traditional model of, working on your weaknesses in order to grow that's the cost of it, right? I mean, the cost is, unhappiness and burnout. And, in this model, you can, once you figure out, okay, what am I strong at and can I work more in those areas? That leads you, to both achievement and
Correct.
happiness.
And I also firmly believe that since we both have, been coaches and we are working on different levels of people,
Yeah.
one thing which I strongly believe is that people want to work more on their weaknesses rather than harp on their strengths. And
Absolutely.
this is why they struggle more, because you are putting a people's person on a may I help you desk, and the person in 1 hour is drained because every 10 seconds somebody is coming and asking him, and he's not a people's person, he doesn't want to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, Marcus Buckingham, who's one of the founding fathers of the strengths movement, he goes and tells people, saying, you know what, you don't need to take up a people manager's job. You don't need to move into a senior leadership position if you're not a people's person. Don't do it, because you'll be unhappy, they'll be unhappy, and you won't be your best. It's all right to stay, an individual contributor and be the best at what you are. So, even you come from a chartered accountancy background, there are people who are brilliant chartered accountants, who are incredible at audit and at taxation, and because they're so good at it, they're really valued. They're experts, and the company is willing to pay them money. They are actually hired by companies because of how good they are. They don't need to become managers in order to make more money and grow.
But I guess, this is a typical style where a person is elevated because of his substantial subject knowledge,
Yes.
while the, team handling skills, people handling skills, they are completely missing because, he is attuned to work individually at his excellence. While you
Yeah.
have now put him responsible for 10 more people, where he
Yes.
has to actually not look at his excellence, he has to look at how all 10 people become excellent, and that's where he is struggling.
Absolutely.
So I think that has been a major thing, probably I would say more in India, because in India the working styles are that we elevate people on the basis of subject knowledge. We do not elevate with the 360 degree appraisal forms, or taking inputs, unless a person is really at a very high designation. This particular thing is not applied. So a person is easily given assistants, 4 or 5 assistants to work with, without knowing that the person has people handling skills or not.
Absolutely.
So tell me something. You have been a TEDx speaker. What was your subject? How it inspired you to be on that?
I actually spoke about strengths, strength psychology being used in development and education. So, that is, like I said, that is one of the core elements that I have built my whole approach around, and that was what I spoke about at TEDx.
Wonderful. I think I would like to, if you have a link, I'd be glad to see that.
Most certainly, I'd be very, very pleased to send it to you, and
Sure.
please let me know what you thought of it.
Oh, absolutely. So, tell me, what is that which is, inspiring you to remain here and go next leap now?
It's a very interesting question, Shachi. For me, I don't particularly think about the future. I'm a very in the moment person, and so people who are very fond of concepts like futuristic planning and strategic planning will be unhappy to hear that. But people who are spiritually inclined, people like the Buddha and about Krishna and all, they'll be very happy, saying, oh, okay, I've told somebody to stay in the moment, at least this fellow is following that. So I'm actually a very in the moment person. I don't plan ahead. So I'm actually very happy to do this kind of work. And I'm actually very happy that I'm working with the people who can make a difference. When I started in this field, I was working more with people who were frontline staff or frontline managers, and it made a difference to their lives. What I'm getting to do now is I'm actually getting to work with senior leadership, with people who are CXOs or reporting to CXOs, that team. And I think the impact that those people can have is incredible, because they can actually, if they can change the way they see things, if they can change the way they lead, they can actually change entire departments, entire teams, possibly even the culture of the whole organization, which is what I'm after. I would like to see workplaces become more nourishing. We all know that apart from a few very rare ones, most workplaces are actually damaging to human beings. They actually are. A lot of people refer to them as toxic places where disease is created, right? I mean, we know that people are falling physically and mentally ill because of the way workplaces are structured and all of that.
Yeah, and only working. One
Absolutely.
third goes in the sleep, so you're only left out to work on your personal dreams. One third of the time where you're also needing to eat, make up all the relationships and do all the things. So precisely, only one third time is there. So it should be a healing time for everyone.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, because you see, if human beings are spending 10, 12 hours at work today, and that time is actually stressful rather than nourishing, then workplaces are actually creating a humanity that is stressed and unhappy. So workplaces have actually a great role to play in creating a healthy, happy society. And therefore, I'm very pleased that, the opportunity people like you and I have is that we can create leadership that can go and influence the whole culture of the organization, turn it into a thriving, flourishing, healthy place, like you were saying, so that those people can then, obviously, if they are spending 10 hours or 8 hours at work where they are happy and nourished, then they go into the world carrying that positive emotion, and that they touch their family like that, they touch the rest of the world like that. So there's great potential. And I think that is what is exciting me currently.
Yeah, I fully agree with you because I feel, all those people who are into designations, who have reached there is a certain, driving force because of which they have reached there. And they think that's the only way, to live life. And over a period of time, whether you say that the forced targets, or you say that the timelines, time crunches, or you may say that the deadlines coming up, handling too many things, pressure handlings. Because of that, the state of mind of that person changes so much that if he's not, working on himself, he would tend to lose very easily that balance, that peace, and, that will immediately, because it says that, rose doesn't have to say, I'm a rose. When the rose is present, the fragrance is there. It's like that. When a person is there who is positive minded, who is pleasing, who is pleasant, everybody likes to work with that person. There's a different aura.
Absolutely. Being in the presence of that person, others feel supported and nourished and inspired. So if you're looking at people around you in the office and outside the office, being motivated, inspired, I think it's very important for the leaders to become those kind of person that can those kind of persons that can give those positive vibes to others.
And they need to constantly work on it to create that balance, maintain that balance, whatever it takes, because ultimately the impact is overwhelming for all others who are handling them.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're talking, two thoughts came to mind, Shachi. One is, I think quite a few years ago, I was doing a workshop at, if I'm not mistaken, it was an Anand Group company here in Pune. And I, before the workshop actually started, I noticed that there was an announcement on the, PA system, the public address system. And everybody stood up at their desks. And the PA system was actually guiding the whole office through a set of exercises. They were saying, rotate your wrists like that, rotate your, ankles like that, twist your neck like that. Right at the beginning, before people sat down to do work, the company was not saying come into work, do only work. It was saying come into work, first stretch a little, then start work. I think the movement started out in Japan, where they noticed that people were sitting for very long hours and they kind of included some kind of movement exercises, etc. And I was stunned that in the 14 years that I've gone and done workshops at so many organizations, I've only encountered one that does it, one that is interested in the wellness of their people. So you're right. I think if we can get more people to understand things like this and implement things like this, we could be creating a better world.
So there's a book where I have put one section in one of my books where I say that why only 1% CEOs are successful. Because it is not about how they handle others, it's about how they handle themselves. So if they've handled themselves well, they don't need to handle anybody else, because that is what will pour into others. That is what will enhance others' lives without they making an effort to enhance anybody's life.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah, because see, most of the times we think that if we work on ourselves, why should we work? Because this is going to others. I'm a boss. Why should I work on myself? Because now I am a boss, so the people have to listen to me.
Yeah.
But it is the other way around. If you're a boss, so I still remember while I was very young, I used to say to myself, every time I see somebody shouting, every time somebody is talking about a boss, I would say, okay, I will write down this. If I become a boss, I will ever never do this. So I had that book always with me. And, I used to be always writing down, okay, this is something which a boss should not be doing. This is something which people should not suffer with. So I guess, yes. If people handle themselves because they are peaceful, they don't need to do much about how peaceful is the world.
I remember an incident like that, Shachi, with me also. There was one manager that I briefly worked with, and as I would see him, I would make not physical but was mental notes saying, I will never do this as a manager. And unfortunately also that person was so stressed, so crazily ambitious and so stressed, driving himself and everybody, wanting to, conquer the world overnight and pushing everybody. It created so many problems for him later on. And ultimately, a few years ago, he passed away, in his 40s. So people need to realize that there is a very, very, very strong correlation between those kind of aspirations, that kind of behavior, and ill health. So I think
and universe has its own ways to settle the scores with you, make you noticeable, give you apparent things which you need to change. But sometimes, or maybe most of the times, we are in a state where we ignore. A very, very simple example is there was a person who was very, very fast.
Yes.
He used to talk so fast, do everything fast, and he got a secretary who was so slow. He used to talk so slowly, and so he can't do anything because he cannot increase her speed. So he used to say, So in that one sentence when she used to speak, he used to say some 5-10 times, So that means, so many signals this universe gives that at least slow down a little bit. People tend to think that, that is what I am and I will remain this, and, this is feeding me.
True.
And every session that we have, at least I become more grateful to this universe, because people have very, very funny problems sometimes, and they are struggling with those which is not so big. It's a simple thing, but they would be struggling. And then I realized that, it is sometimes that you do not get the light from anywhere. And that is the reason, people struggle. They don't get simple solutions, and, they are stuck at that place. So it's not about handling people that I have done for a long time, but it's about knowing what people could struggle with, how simple things can also create paranoid effects, for people, and they cannot grow. Because, there's so much running around for getting something. So, I have 8 things. I need those 2 things to make it 10. But in the process, those 2 will come, but 2 which you have will always be, jeopardized. That will go away. And then you will again be left out with 8 only. So 8 is meant for you. You're not understanding whatever you strive it for.
True.
Wonderful. So it was very, very nice talking to you, Aman. I think
same here.
it was resonating how we could really contribute to this world, and not for others, for ourselves, because this, I believe strongly that it's a learning process for each human being. And while we are made as a little bit of instruments which the Almighty guides us, that we could help others, it's nothing about us. It's about every person who's there, to make him realize that he exists and he is equally empowered to make changes in his own life. And that's a very, very holy thing. I think that's to be treasured, to really be proud that God has chosen us to do that best for others.
Wow, that's really something. I never, until you expressed it like that, I never saw it from a spiritual lens. But I'm inclined to agree with you. Yes, it's entirely possible that we were kind of chosen to play this role in life. And you used the word instrument, Shachi, and it reminds me of a prayer we used to have in school. It was Saint Francis of Assisi's prayer, where it starts with, "Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love."
This one even I have. Even I have heard this. Yes,
you remember this, right? And I didn't realize that about 30 years later, I would be remembering this prayer because of this, mention of the word instrument that you made. I must commend you, Shachi, on a wonderful conversation. It was such a freewheeling, easy chat, and we explored so much material, so many different topics in such an easy way. I must thank you for such a wonderful conversation.
You're welcome. And I think we should make because I strongly believe that when more people of the same wavelength with a connection come together, they make wonderful contribution to this world. You come out from because we all are unique beings. What I come out with, what you come out with, and we make a third unique thing out of it. And then we actually create something which works wonders for others, other organizations. Why not? Because it's like a puzzle in this whole world, and we all are units. So unless all the units are put together properly, we cannot create the whole puzzle called universe. So looking forward to really, see how we could, properly contribute in other way together, anywhere.
I agree with you. I think my mother also tells me that, you must work with people who are similar to you, who are similarly motivated, because and I've heard other people also say that, saying, look, you can waste your energy on trying to change people who are not aligned with your values, or you can find people who are aligned and work together with them. And I think the latter is actually it's probably a better investment, because you'll make more progress there that way. Otherwise, you could be
you will be faster. You will borrow that piece which you are seeking somewhere else. This piece will come very easily, naturally, because you're resonating. There's a connection of the passion. I truly believe that.
Absolutely. I think so. Let's do it. I think I'd love it if we can actually build a community of like-minded people together and go out and touch the world.
Thank you. That's a wonderful idea. Let's do that. Thank you so much, Aman. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thanks, Shachi. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.